Well, I got to be honest with you. I don't know whether to be pleased that Obama is feckless and disconnected from his job and reality, or to be extremely concerned about it. I don't know which is worse, to be perfectly honest with you. I'll tell you what I resent. I resent when our military personnel are sent into battle and the president doesn't make a coherent public statement to the American people. That I resent very much, because I remember Ronald Reagan addressing the American people when he ordered an airstrike on the quote-unquote command and control center of Muammar Gaddafi, which happened to be one of his big palaces where we thought he was at. Now, Obama is always compared to, or his people want him compared to, our great presidents. He's not even close to a great president. Matter of fact, he's a pathetic president. I know the history professors who take these polls will pump him up as one of the greats. But one of the great whats? Losers? I mean, we got a massive deficit problem on our hands. The CBO just said, my words, that the White House lied about their figures by cooking the growth figures that they predict in future years by $2.3 trillion. Let me tell you something. Any corporation did that, even any nonprofit business did that, cooked their books that way, and auditors found out about it from the government, those people, those entities would be severely punished and shamed by the American people. The American people found out about it. Here it's business as usual. He's lied repeatedly about Obamacare. He's lied repeatedly about the stimulus. Shovel ready, then I never said shovel ready. I'm not going to. I could play a montage of him saying time and time and time again his single focus will be job creation. It's like the one focus he doesn't have, that they would get unemployment and keep it below 8%. Absolute falsehood. Or this one, that Obamacare would help the deficit. Absolute falsehood. But I want you to hear what Reagan had to say. It is important to compare. I want you to hear what Reagan had to say. He came back from Maryland, Camp David, and spoke to the American people. This guy, he's in Brazil, and he ain't leaving till he's ready. Even when he orders American armed forces, into war. Not an official war, but you get my point, into battle. And that's what they are. They're in battle. I mean, so disconnected, so dismissive. And I'm going to tell you something. Let me see how I can put this without getting in trouble. This is the nature, let me use the phrase over. This is the nature of pseudo-despotism. How's that one? The people exist for the leader, for the ruler. Oh, well, there'll be some who are unemployed. That's the way it works. We're trying to transform our society. We may lose some along the way, but so be it. It's for the greater good. Most of the great philosophers, not all of them, most of them took that attitude. Most of them did, particularly those who are the fathers of the modern left in this country. Oh, well, the greater good is the key, and so it is. Now, here's Reagan. Let's get Cut 8 ready. Here is Reagan, April 14, 1986, talking about what just occurred. Hat tip Reagan Foundation. Cut 8, go.
We have solid evidence about other attacks Gaddafi has planned against the United States installations and diplomats and even American tourists. Thanks to close cooperation with our friends, some of these have been prevented. With the help of French authorities, we recently aborted one such attack, a planned massacre using grenades and small arms of civilians waiting in line for visas at an American embassy. Colonel Gaddafi is not only an enemy of the United States. His record of subversion and aggression against the neighboring states in Africa is well documented and well known. He has ordered the murder of fellow Libyans in countless countries. He has sanctioned acts of terror in Africa, Europe, and the Middle East, as well as the Western Hemisphere. Today, we have done what we had to do. If necessary, we shall do it again. It gives me no pleasure to say that, and I wish it were otherwise. Before Gaddafi seized power in 1969, the people of Libya had been friends of the United States. And I'm sure that today most Libyans are ashamed and disgusted that this man has made their country a synonym for barbarism around the world.
You see, this is Reagan, not Obama. Obama can never be Reagan. Not because Reagan's bigger than life, but because Reagan was a great statesman, unlike Obama. Now I want you to hear Obama. He's in Chile today, and Here's how he talks about what went on, not to the American people, but at a press event. Cut 3, go.
I think it's also important to note that the way that the U.S. took leadership and managed this process ensures international legitimacy and ensures that our partners, members of the international coalition, are bearing the burden of following through on the mission as well. Because, as you know, in the past, there have been times where the United States acted unilaterally or did not have full international support. And as a consequence, typically it was the United States military that ended up bearing the entire burden.
See the difference? Reagan talking to the American people with a coherent, principled statement about why he took military action against Gaddafi. And here you have Obama talking about an international community. In the past, America acted unilaterally, and now what we're doing is legitimate, because I guess in the past it wasn't. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's about 190 countries in the world, a small percentage of which are democratic in one form or another. And you can see them represented in the United Nations. It's an absolute freak show. All kinds of miserable, rotten regimes represented in the United Nations. Just how far are we supposed to take this international approval stuff? Since I bet the vast majority of those countries would love to see America fail. Now, I want to explain something to Barack Obama and his drone adherents. He was elected president of the United States, not of the international community. It's important to work with the international community, but first and foremost, it is his job to improve and to preserve our society. He's elected president of the United States. Nobody else had a say. All the other countries have their own representatives, whether they got there by the end of a bayonet or were elected. This is how our government works. I have never in my adult life, since I've been watching politics, ever seen a president who goes so out of the way to put an exclamation mark behind the fact that he distances himself from his own country and his own people. Never. Now, I don't think Barack Obama has any idea what the hell he's doing with Libya. I have no problem with taking out Gaddafi. Gaddafi murdered American citizens and soldiers, among other reasons. I don't embrace this abstraction, this doctrine called the Democracy Project, which ignores thousands of years of human history, depending on the region, depending on the circumstances. That's what the left does. Our project is to secure America, is to improve America and her allies. My problems, though, with this current military action are multifold. First, its purpose is not to eliminate Gaddafi, which should be our mission, in my humble opinion. And by the way, we can do that without putting military personnel on the line. We can support the opposition in Libya if that's what we choose to do, as we did in Afghanistan, and we have throughout Africa and Latin America. We don't have to send combat troops, ground troops, even jets, ships offshore. There are other ways to do these things. The purpose of this military action is to protect Libyans from Libyans. That is, Muslims murdering Muslims. Why not intervene in the Sudan, in the Congo, in 100 other countries where governments are murdering their own people? What exactly is the American foreign policy? What is it? I have no idea. How do we know, my third point, that we've completed our task in Libya? Is Gaddafi going to stop killing Libyans? Number 4, this is not a national security emergency requiring presidential action with real congressional consultation, which there obviously has not been. There's been more consultation with the United Nations than with our own Congress. What about even a joint resolution? Wouldn't that make sense even politically for this president? I do not believe you need a declaration of war for every military action or actions. That's absurd. And I can go back to George Washington to prove it. But still, isn't it logical to make sure that the body that's in charge of appropriating funds is brought up to speed, more so than the United Nations? Why not? Number 5, Obama has sought the cover of UN authority to act, which is an unfortunate legacy of Bush 41 and 43, frankly. And it undermines U.S. sovereignty and independent decision-making about the best interests of our national security. The purpose of our foreign policy and national security decisions, once again, must at all times be what is in the best interests of our society, not some platitudinous doctrine set for all times. That's absurd. 6, Obama is effectively cutting the United States military while further expanding its role and activities. Well, how long can this go on for? He's dismissed or canceled many of the new technologies that are online to support our military. Now, this is no doubt pushing military capabilities where they shouldn't be pushed. We saw this under Carter, where Reagan had to come in and rebuild the United States military. Number 7, how does Obama and how do his supporters explain their opposition to the Iraq War, where the worldwide intelligence community insisted that Hussein had weapons of mass destruction, where he was torturing and slaughtering his own people? How does Obama, how do his supporters defend their anti-war demands when we went to war in Iraq with their support of what we're doing now in Libya? Is there some suggestion that there's weapons of mass destruction that Libya might use on its neighbors, or somehow that they may wind up in an attack on the United States? I've heard of none. So Obama is doing what he does best, muddle. Even when it came to his grand Obamacare, he left it to the Democrats in Congress to draw it up and lead the way. And if he hadn't had a supermajority, he would never have gotten it passed. It's been a very lucky president so far, which means the rest of us have been very unlucky. I'll be right back. What you also heard when Reagan spoke and then when Obama spoke is that Reagan's comments were about leadership and ideas. They were substantive. Obama's were about scoring political points, about pandering, just assuming that the host, I think that was in Chile, that the host nation was as hostile to America as he is. Reagan was all about ideas, all about strategies. Obama's all about politics and all about tactics. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin, the thunder on the right. Call in now, 877-381-3811.
Well, you think I'm tough on old Obama? Actually, I haven't laid a finger on the guy. You should hear Ralph Nader. You liberals love Ralph Nader, don't you? Mr. Consumer Advocate. Well, here's what he had to say. Hat tip the hill. Cut 7, go.
George W. Bush and Cheney committed war crimes. They had surveillance of Americans illegally. They unconstitutionally pursued wars in Asia. They slaughtered innocents, and they were considered war criminals by many people. Now, Barack Obama is committing the same crimes, in fact, worse ones in Afghanistan. And innocents are being slaughtered. We're creating more enemies. He's violating international law. He is not constitutionally authorized to do what he's doing. Why don't we say what's on the minds of many legal experts? That the Obama administration is committing war crimes, and if Bush should have been impeached, Obama should be impeached.
Oh, my goodness. I wonder what you liberals think about that.